Work on the New Bay Bridge began in the year 2002 and will be completed in 2013. Hundreds of men and women have dedicated a decade of their lives to building the New Bay Bridge. Bart Ney is host for the people behind the New Bay Bridge.
I'm Bart Ney. The New Bay Bridge is an amazing engineering feat you can see with your own eyes. Equally amazing are the men and women who are doing the hard work day in and day out to complete this landmark structure and put the new span into service for the people of California. Video journalist Mark Jones has been chronicling their lives and their work on the largest public works project in the United States. Meet them now in this first of a series, The People Behind the New Bay Bridge.
Now there's actually a lot of women in the trades.
I would say I'm a guardian angel for the Caltrans workers.
Well, I work for the general superintendent of the project, so wherever there's guys working, I'm working.
Today, you're going to meet Julie Hilton, a surveyor for MCM Construction on the New Bay Bridge project. Her brother, her mother, and she have been working on this bridge. Her grandfather worked on the original bridge in the 1930s.
Can jump right on in there. I am Julie Hilton. I work for MCM Construction. I'm their field engineer. I do all the surveying. We are going to go over to the island and go down. We have an office trailer down below. I am a Bay Area native. My mom's a heavy equipment operator, so are two of my brothers. My dad was a rigger, my grandfather was a rigger. Rex Redford, Corbett Redford, but they called him Rex. He was hit by some rebar and injured, and so he couldn't be an iron worker anymore.
My name is Deborah Carell. I'm extremely proud. It's 25 years ago, you never thought that you would make an impact and maybe open a door for someone, and in walked my daughter. So I'm very proud.
Hundreds of men and women have been working on the New Bay Bridge. At one time or another, they've been under the watchful eye of Safety Inspector Fernando Leon. He makes sure they're following all safety rules, and in many cases, he's the person who taught them how to work without fear at heights many of us would consider terrifying.
So follow this guy. As soon as you get up, you hook up to the side cable, okay?
Okay, the side cable, which side is it on? Is it this side?
Right side. You can see it right there.
All right.
So you can click line, you can put that anywhere you want right now. I have trained hundreds of people. I train different classes. In fall protection, I must have trained perhaps 700 people, maybe 800 people. The great thing about this climbing business, not one person has fallen in my class. My record is clean, 0 accidents.
The training can take place on any one of 7 state-owned bridges in Northern California. But in recent years, construction of the New Bay Bridge has kept him very busy. The fact is, most high-altitude work in California is happening now on this bridge. Scores of workers, both Caltrans employees and contractors, are his everyday concern.
I would describe my job as, I would say I'm a guardian angel for Caltrans. Part of my job is to ensure that they get home in one piece.
Okay. Wait for me right here. Okay.
Theory can teach the mind, but only real-life experience can train the stomach. It's those safety rules that made it possible for even the seemingly fearless Fernando Leon to climb to the top of his world. The man who teaches how to control fear grew up very much afraid of heights.
It's a little traumatic experience for the first comers. The best I can do is relate to them because I was afraid of climbing myself, and I ended up being the trainer.
Native American Vonnie Bauer is a welder for MCM Construction on the Yerba Buena transition structure of the New Bay Bridge. As a kid, she could sew her own clothing. She grew up and tried jobs like being a nanny, waiting on tables, and working in offices. But she loved welding. Describe the temperatures, what it's like. What's it feel like? How hot is it?
It's hot. I guess you get acclimated after a while, so you don't really notice the burns, the temperature.
You say burns. What are burns?
Welding burns, when it sparks and the metal flies everywhere.
You get zapped.
Yes.
Does that happen a lot?
Yeah, but very mildly. I mean, it's not severe.
And the layers I see on your jacket, which obviously you've worn a lot, has holes in it. Couple of weeks. And that's from the burns?
That's why I buy them at thrift stores.
Wow.
I mean, I could wear leathers, but the leathers are hotter and stiffer. I don't like them. This is more comfortable.
But you're going to get burned holes.
I'm going to get burned regardless.
Yeah.
So I might as well be comfortable.
So how did you end up on the Bay Bridge project?
Needed to get back into the industry and made some phone calls and found someone that needed a welder and showed up for work, which is great because I've always wanted to work on the Bay Bridge.
Does it mean a lot to you to work on the Bay Bridge? I mean, you're from LA, so.
My first boss was doing test pile for the Bay Bridge 15 years ago. And I told him, when you get that job, call me, and he did, and I broke my neck. So I waited 15 years to get on this job.
Symbolically, what does it mean to be working on the Bay Bridge?
As a bridge builder and a welder, and having built several bridges and done some pretty interesting projects, including putting the ceiling in the Disney Concert Hall, the Caltrans building in downtown Los Angeles, and a lot of the metro stations, a lot of significant projects. This is the biggest and largest scale that I've ever worked on. And it's a project like this rarely comes around in one person's lifetime. I know that I'm a part of it, and that works for me.
When the new Bay Bridge project began in 2002, the project had no home base. There would soon be an initial team of 65 Caltrans engineers plus hundreds of subcontractors. The founding team worked here under cramped conditions at the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza building. Bill Howell was hired as first senior engineer on the new Bay Bridge, and one of his first jobs was to find a real base camp for Caltrans and its team of contractors. You got a bad hip or a bad leg?
Got cerebral palsy.
His cerebral palsy was little hindrance in keeping him from being an avid bicyclist, or spending a career climbing tall bridges, or finding the first real home for the new Bay Bridge project.
And this warehouse, we were going to be right in front of that warehouse.
Right there.
Right there. That was going to be it.
But this site near West Grand Avenue and Maritime wasn't big enough for the nearly 300 people who would be working on the project, and it did not have both land and water access to the new bridge.
We went around and we looked at all these sites. As I remember, I think there was 13 of them. And they were all pretty small.
The perfect location, Pier 7, was going to be transferred to the city of Oakland by the U.S. Army. That raised a question.
Why don't we do a Title 23 land grab?
That's legal talk for the state's ability to take land for right-of-way.
Oakland sued. It was a land grab, absolutely was a land grab. So I drove up to the gates out here, and the Oakland cops were there. They had their cars parked, so you couldn't go in. I represent the state of California, so does that mean that I'm going to have to call my cops so you guys can have a talk? And the next day they were gone.
Pier 7, since 2002, has been home to the Caltrans engineers on the project. Now, Bill Howe is senior engineer on the Yerba Buena Island transition structure, the highly elevated section of the bridge that will connect the self-anchored suspension tower to land.
I really feel fortunate to be involved on the Bay Bridge. It is an opportunity that I can only describe as a once-in-a-lifetime.
Historic facts for the new Bay Bridge.
Bridge, the Yerba Buena Island transition structure, is the fourth link connecting the new span to this rocky island. This is where the bridge, which is two single decks which run side by side all the way from Oakland, finally converge, with the eastbound lanes gracefully subsiding to the lower tunnel on the island and the westbound lanes majestically rising to the upper tunnel. The daunting challenge: how do you get more than 14,000 cubic yards of concrete, that's nearly 3 million buckets worth, of 150 feet to this playing field? Not even Monday Night Football matches the intricacies of this game. In this Super Bowl, there are 1,500 truckloads, each driver a Joe Montana in tossing concrete. First, they roll from Central Concrete in Oakland. Each makes the scrimmage down this tight, windy road to the base of the New Bay Bridge. There is a huddle, much scurrying for position, and then the pass, pumping the ball in this game, the nitty-gritty concrete mass, 150 feet straight up to the 1961 invention called a bidwell machine, made in South Dakota, USA. It weighs 6,000 pounds and was put together at the base of the bridge and then hoisted to the top. The bidwell moves up the line. This referee hand signals the call. This referee responds. A touchdown victory for the 280,000 fans who will drive across this deck every day, starting in late 2013. We're under the New Bay Bridge, where you're about to meet Jim Reed. Reed, his wife, and kids recently returned to the U.S. from abroad and came back to no home, no car, and without having seen friends in years.
So you found a home, got a car, all that stuff? Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, we're settling in. It's been a long process. Yeah, bad.
To build this new bridge, in 2008, Reed and his wife sold their home and their cars and moved lock, stock, and barrel to China.
My name is Jim Reed, and I work for Caltrans Construction, and I'm in charge of tower fabrication here in China. When we left for here, we only had one child. She was a year and a half. She's now 4.5 years old and has a two-year-old little brother who was born while we were here. So this curved plate here, if you can imagine it flipped upside down, that's going to be the profile of the cable as it comes across the tower. Well, we arrived in the middle of the worst winter Shanghai had in 50 years. So we arrived to blizzards, freezing cold, and at the time to get to work, we would drive about a half hour to a ferry dock. We would take a ferry out to the island where the fabrication happens, and then we'd repeat that all the way going back. And so sometimes, if there was bad weather, we'd have maybe 4 hours of commuting.
Talk about the tower. There's 4 sections to every section, right?
That's right. So 4 individual shafts make up the tower. Each of them is about 500 feet tall, and they're joined with shear links or struts every so often all the way up. They tie everything together and make the tower solid, but then when you get a large earthquake, they allow for some bending to take place rather than the tower breaking. The whole tower will move and dissipate the forces of the earthquake.
And the bridge is finally up. What will you feel?
Oh, I'd say a sense of pride primarily. I've been working on this bridge for more than 5 years now, and that's a good chunk of your life.
You are about to meet 30-year-old Catherine Quillen, senior engineer for American Bridge on the new Bay Bridge project. She has had a sleepless night. Another section of the new tower is supposed to be lifted into place, but the critical piece of equipment that will actually lift that tower has broken down overnight.
Yeah, so we've been having problems with this jack leaking. So last night at like 10 o'clock, they say, it broke or it started leaking. So they took it apart, and then they had to continue on, set the shaft, took it apart, and now the whole thing's apart on the deck and we can't continue on. We wait till 11 and then they're supposed to come and replace the steel. Well, I work for the general superintendent of the project, so wherever there's guys working, I'm working. I'll take you out. I love my job because I'm outside, I get to tell men what to do, which doesn't do well for the dating life. I need to know where everybody is, what everybody's doing.
Copy that.
I also do like just anything from getting material moving to going and picking up stuff to, I mean, like today we got to drive down to the airport. There's a warehouse near there. We got to go pick up a strand of spool that's change order work for Caltrans. So I need to go take care of that. And it's just, no day is ever the same. And I think it's really interesting, like, you know, I said in high school, I'm going to go work and build bridges. And I'm building like the largest bridge in the world. I left the construction industry for about 1.5 years, and everybody said, oh, you'll last maybe a year at the most. I was somewhat surprised I lasted 1.5 years.
Now that's just a few of the thousands of people, both here and around the world, who have been working on the new Bay Bridge, the engineering project of a lifetime.